They said it was just a glorious time.
To me, they struck me as being such a cohesive group. You know, it's like they looked out after each other. They cared about each other.
There were some rich people whose kids came to Broadway and some poor ones.
My father would come home at the end of the week with maybe making $2 or so. I made enough money to buy shoes.
We lived through a lot. We lived through the Depression. Yes, we lived through the Depression.
So it was actually at one time a very multi-ethnic school.
But they didn't look upon me as an immigrant kid or something. It was just another guy who could play soccer or kick the can.
I thought it was a good place to learn. Good experience.
I kind of probably slid out of Broadway by the seat of my pants.
I think I got a good education. A lot of good teachers.
Home economics, I had 4 years of food and 3 years of clothing. And excellent teachers.
What does clothing mean?
We sewed. We created.
We had one teacher chemistry teacher was Tony Bell, and his son was an announcer of athletics here in Seattle. And Tony was a great guy, and one day we decided, he had on a dark suit, and he went out of the room for a minute and two. We put chalk on the chair when he sat down on a blue suit. Everybody just roared, you know, and he didn't know what was going on.
It was the height of the big band era, and I was a pretty good smooth dancer. I wasn't a jitterbug, but anyway, I think a lot of girls danced with me because I was a good dancer, not that I was the most handsome guy in town. I always had fun at the mixers, and we had them in the gym.
And they certainly had active theater in the school. They had a very active choral group, and they had a newspaper.
We had things like White Clothes Day. Another thing that we had to do was wear middies and navy blue skirts.
There are pictures of all of us in our middies and skirts.
And on Friday, we get to wear whatever we wanted.
First of all, it was the first school in Seattle.
It was the original high school in Seattle.
It's the first singular structure, and a huge one, given to the high school education for the kids of Seattle. And they had to come from a long ways to get there. They came across Lake Washington, some of them. They had to take tortuous routes of transportation that would make modern commuters sort of blush at how easy it is for them. They rode horses and jumped in canoes and, you know, and stepped ankle deep in puddles to get to that school.
Broadway High. Before Ballard and Roosevelt, before Garfield, and any of the high schools around today in Seattle, there was just one, Broadway High School. And when you begin asking the alumni about their alma mater, it's clear those days were special times in their lives.
Some of the people that went to Broadway were really smart cookies. There were a lot of Japanese and Chinese people that went to Broadway that were brilliant people. And for example, Horiyuchi was a friend of mine. There's Horiyuchi's screen there.
At one time in its history, in the early 40s.
30% of the population there, or the enrollment there, was Japanese Americans.
Some of them, after school, went to Japanese language schools.
All these people went to Broadway, and we became, you know, good friends.
Louise Cascino and Patsy Love were good friends then, best of friends now.
Patsy Love is my friend that I always remember. And she was my friend all the way through, so she even came to the Puyallup Fairgrounds where we were incarcerated. And as I think about it now, That was a long ways for her to come.
We were always friends. I would say that when Pearl Harbor came, we didn't think it was right that Louise would have to go to, all of the kids would have to go to camp. I wrote a letter to my husband-to-be. This is a letter to Hal, and I don't know if you knew him. It was later you met him. Dear Hal, yes, a war was declared this morning, and I feel kind of morbid. There are quite a few Japanese kids at school you knew, and I noticed no hard feelings as yet. We talked to them about it too, and some said their parents were very surprised and disgusted about the situation.
No question about it in terms of during that time period, Japanese Americans were looked at as the enemy. Nobody was saying that whether Japanese Americans that were born here, there's a difference between them and those that are in Japan.
True?
Yeah. My father, I remember him putting up a sign in the front window of our grocery store saying, "We are Americans."
One person told me that there was a mother's tea for students, and this young woman, who was a Japanese, she was one of the top students in the class. They refused to let her mother come to the tea.
And this is the sad part, because government should have been the ones that were the voice of reason. They should have been the ones protecting its citizens.
Memory is vivid for me.
For everyone. May 14th, 1942.
When they were shipped out to what amounts to concentration camps.
They got to go. Why? That was a shock to myself, at any rate. I'm sure it was also to my remaining Anglo classmates, non-Japanese classmates.
So one day you go to school,
and no one's there in our classes.
We piled what we could carry, and we had to report to 14th and Jefferson.
All of a sudden, 1/3 of the school was gone.
Stuart Oles remembers how he felt coming to school that day.
Absolutely, and deeply resenting it. And we felt, as I still do, that it was a terrible mistake.
Just outside, we're supposed to meet on that corner, on that block.
and then what?
The bus came and
Took
took us away, yeah.
They were shipped down to Puyallup in a camp.
They were gone, and there were no kids in classes, and there was no choir, no Japanese choir, and part of the orchestra was gone.
They missed, therefore, their graduation ceremonies, and our good faculty trooped down to Puyallup and held a graduation ceremony for them.
One day my mom was crying, and so I was looking at her, wondering why she cried, because she very seldom shed tears. And she said that she felt so bad for me that I couldn't go to the prom, graduation and the prom. Something little like that. But I think she was just saying that because she didn't want to express what the harm that it has been done to them.
Patsy visited her dear friend Louise at the Puyallup Fairgrounds.
Louise remembered that I had a camera. I wanted to take a picture of her.
The soldiers took the cameras away from her during our visit. But I was called to the front office, and so that's when I saw Patsy. She must have been kind of appalled to see the kind of conditions we were in.
From Puyallup, many of the families were forced into internment camps in other parts of the country for the next 2.5 years. Al Sugiyama's parents graduated from Broadway High. That's Harry Sugiyama, class of '32, and Teiko Nagai, class of '36. They'd already graduated when the family was rounded up and forced into the internment camps.
There was barbed wires all around. There was all the soldiers out there with the guns pointing. You couldn't leave. And there was cases where an individual walked away, one of the persons that they knew, and, you know, he was hard of hearing, he was elderly, and when he started walking out, they shot and killed him. So they said it wasn't a fun time. It was strictly a racist issue that they were taken because they looked like the enemy.
This is obviously before you were born.
Right. Well, first of all, my oldest sister died in camp, and when she was first born. The conditions were so bad, my mom talked about. So the baby died after she was born, just a few days later. And so that was a real sad time, and they were quite angry. My dad was saying how angry he was because he knew that the baby would have lived had it not been for the conditions.
There were many of us who felt exactly the same way. This is not right. This is unfair. Well, so be it. It happened anyway, like things often do, and couldn't do a thing about it.
1/3 of the school was gone, and one quick swoop. And that is what led to the demise, really, of Broadway High School.
The dramatic drop in the school population led to a Seattle Public Schools decision no one at Broadway High liked.
It hurt.
And the school closed as a high school, in 1946.
So our study of old Broadway High is essential to making, let's imagine the city as a musical instrument. If you're going to touch it, one of the strings in that is going to be Broadway High, and a very important one. It's going to resonate, and you want to hear it, and you want to learn about it.